Revolution.
Join Revolution Radio every Sunday at 5 p.m. Studio B for Strange Universe. Strange Universe. Strange Universe. Strange Universe.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslip.com, the People Station.
Are you a fan of rock and roll? Does it get your feet tapping and your hands clapping? Then be sure to check out Crip Rick's Rock and Roll Hour every Friday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern and Standard Time on Studio B right here at RevolutionRadio.com, where we get down and talk all things rock.
This is the People's War. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We've got to stop them! They're going to kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they a government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even constantly take part. To put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, on the levers, all the apparatus. Go running, go on and let the machine moving and then working at all.
Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well, now you got it. Right, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me.
Revolution Radio.
Tune into Revolution Radio, Studio A for Omnium Gatherum, a kaleidoscope of discussion, Thursdays at 4 p.m. and Saturdays at 10 p.m. only at Revolution Radio. Tune into Revolution Radio, Studio A for Omnium Gatherum, a kaleidoscope of discussion, Thursdays at 4 p.m. and Saturdays at 10 p.m. only at Revolution Radio.
The spice extends life.
expands consciousness. The spice is vital to space travel. Travel without movement.
And greetings, Earth Explorers, and welcome to X Squared Radio. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew, coming to you live from an undisclosed location east of the Appalachian Mountains. This is precisely where the past meets the future. And in here, the results are always positive. Now, we might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear, you will be safely traveling with us as we endeavor to treat, cure, and prevent the disease of ignorance. This is the voice of the revolution. And we are streaming to you live tonight on with our friends at Revolution Radio on freedomslips.org, the #1 listener-supported network in the entire country. We're also streaming to you live on several video platforms on Rumble and YouTube and Twitch, XD Live, Truth Refugee, and Foxhole, everywhere where good, free podcasting can be found. Our chat rooms are already full. Let's see, JCW408 was the first one in tonight. He says he's hauling ass, so maybe he's driving tonight. Hard to tell. Tatanka Dave and JCW. Oh, I said JCW, did I? Because he was the first one in. Bayonet's here. Cromwell, Tardigrade Tickler, East Coast 20, Della Meow. Let's see here. Plumber Man is here. Big D, 1955. He's been around a long time. Very good friend out there. Gramanon, nice to see you. Nice to see you. Dragnet's out there. That's good. We're filling them up. Washaki Wind's out there. Waiting for a couple of others. 86 Troll is out there. K.O. Kelly. All right, good. Spartan Roger. Good. Let's see. Who is on Foxhole right now? Wow. Willie Fixit's out there. Oh, I see. Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that tonight. We will talk about that. I don't know if it's a show of force or not. Well, maybe it's a show of defense. We'll see. But let's talk about this first because I want to talk about what's going on America's highways. Andres is here. I call this chameleon truckers. Now, it used to be, when you drove cross country, you could always trust the truck drivers. They drove the safe speed for the road conditions. They knew where all the cops were. They stayed in their lane. They just were professionals. They were professionals. They didn't really make a lot of mistakes on the road. And Indiana really is the crossroads of America. And Hoosiers are getting killed because drivers who should not be in this country in the first place are behind the wheel. And if you're driving a truck on our roads, you need to be legal. You need to be able to read traffic signs and you need to follow the law. I remember when 9/11 hit, one of the things that I found so surprising were the number of people of Middle Eastern descent who were driving fuel trucks and solvent trucks and chemical trucks. And I thought to myself, wow, how can we expose ourselves this way? What can we do about this? So I contacted the DOT, had a lot of contacts with the DOT, and I said, look, we need to do something. We need to put CDL check stations at where trucks fuel up. And when a trucker who is hauling fuel or hauling chemicals or hauling hazardous materials comes in and he's of Middle Eastern descent, he needs to be flagged. And I was just all over it. And within, I would say, a month, maybe less, maybe 3 weeks, they were gone. They were nowhere to be found in the country. I don't know how they found them all, how they got rid of them all, how they made sure that people that wanted to keep our nation safe were driving those trucks, but they did. Now we have a new system. It is called TruckSafe Tip Line. Now, it's not for you and me, it's for the truckers. And it gives people on the ground a way to speak up when they see carriers cutting corners and putting lives at risk. And also what they're starting to do at these way stations, because a lot of truckers have figured out how to go around the way stations. They get off, they go drive through town, go past the way station, get back on, and they're not getting caught. Because if they stop at the way station, they're going to be asking them questions. And if they can't answer the questions in English, they're going to be in trouble. They're going to be pulled out of the truck and their truck's going to be stopped. And whoever owns that truck, and worse, whoever owns that freight on that truck, is going to be greatly inconvenienced because now they have to send another driver, a legitimate driver with a CDL, to take that truck on to its next location. So reports submitted to the TruckSafe Tip Line are going to be reviewed and shared with the U.S. Transportation Department, DOT, and the Office of Inspector General to protect Americans. Banks unveiled the TruckSafe Tip Line a week after the Kyrgyzstani national killed 4 Indiana men and swerved into oncoming traffic on State Road 67 in Jay County. The victims of the accident include a 50-year-old father, his 2 sons, aged 19 and 25, and 1 other person. The illegal alien crossed the southern border illegally in December of 2023 and was let into the country by using the CBP One Cell Phone app that the Biden administration had created. The trucker was allegedly employed by a chameleon carrier within a network of foreign-owned companies. And these carriers, what they do to get loads, they use internet-connected brokers. That's how they find their loads to carry. And these sometimes specialize in pairing the illegal immigrant carrier or the driver with the delivery, so they get the best possible price. And people are out there and they don't care. As long as they get their stuff hauled for $1.35 a mile, they don't care. A lot of the migrants are not legal, but they illegally take jobs after entering the country legally with a B1 or B2 tourist visas. They're not supposed to be driving trucks. Baishakif was reportedly allowed into the United States and given a work permit under Majorca's quasi-legal CBP-1 program, which was loudly supported by Democrats and business interests. The driver is reportedly from Kyrgyzstan and is based in Pennsylvania, likely making him one of the strong solo Sergei drivers used by Eastern European companies operating throughout the Midwest. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who I think the world of, he's doing a great job, last weekend said AJ Partners, the carrier that employed the illegal alien and many other companies, are under investigation by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Duffy said that these interconnected carriers have all the markings of fraud and are accused of being chameleon carriers. This is when companies swap names and DOT numbers to avoid enforcement. It's a big deal. When you got an 84,000-pound vehicle rolling down the highway at 80 miles an hour, and the person inside can't read the signs and can't speak the language and doesn't know our traffic laws, you have a real problem. And some of it is really blatant and some of it's pretty subtle. You think, well, we have a shortage of truckers and, blah, 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 and we're trying to save money and all this stuff, and these people have to work and they come here for a better life. I get all that. But listen, working in the back of a restaurant is not the same as drive an 80,000 mile truck down the road. So anyway, the network is called, and you can look it up for yourself. You can use it if you do a lot of driving, if you're on the road with sales or deliveries or whatever yourself. It is called the Truck Safe Tip Line, the Truck Safe Tip Line, and you can find it. It's posted out there, and make use of it. Make use of it. I don't know what happened to the Fort Knox operation. I remember they were supposed to audit the gold that was there, but it hasn't happened. Have you seen it happen? I haven't seen it happen. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the Epstein files. Some of the Congress people are getting to see the unredacted files in a private room. And they're coming out of that room basically white-faced in fear and anger because of the torture and the abuse of children. I'm not talking about minors. I'm talking about children, 8, 9, 6, 10 children, innocent kids by adults. And some of this stuff you just don't want to watch. Now, I really don't want to have this stuff in my mind, so I don't like seeing it. So I'm cruising Twitter, and the last couple days, there have been a few clips that have made their way on Twitter. Now, they wipe them quick. I never see them again, but once is enough. Once you see the clip, you go, who is that man? Who is that man in that clip doing that to that girl or that boy? That guy needs to burn in hell. In fact, he needs to burn now. So this is what is happening. Lauren Boebert and others are starting to get more vocal about it. Even Thomas Massey, who I don't have a lot of respect for. He's kind of a purist in the sense that when the Republicans are selling us out, he's with the Democrats. He's not very much of a team player. And I don't know if he is all that smart. But the point is that he's willing to read the names. And, I just don't think the names are enough. I mean, the names, we know a lot of the names have been out there. Oh, they've been to the island. They've been on the plane. So what? So what? What we really want to see, what we really want to have is the evidence of the abuse. Now, I don't necessarily want to see it. I don't want it in my mind. But saying that somebody was at the island is not the same as saying he was in a hot tub with Menudo. It's a big difference, a huge difference. One is an error in judgment and the other one is a felony. So I really don't know what the Department of Justice is going to do. I don't trust Pam Bondi to go after them. I don't think they're going to appoint a special attorney general to go just after the Epstein files. And I think Trump's moves lately on it have been just absolutely brilliant. They've been 5D chess all the way. He's basically said, look, this is a distraction. It's no big deal. Why are we still talking about this? And you think to yourself, why is Trump doing that? This is so important. Why doesn't he care about these kids? He does. You know what would happen if Trump came out and said, look, this is paramount. We need to get these people exposed. Let's get it out in the open. Let's get it out in the public. The Democrats would circle the wagons and they would block it at every opportunity. But the fact that he's saying, look, let's forget about this. Let's move on. The Democrats are doing exactly what President Trump wants them to do, and that's push these files into the public. Now, what happens when we get them? Well, there are a couple things. First of all, the person's reputation is ruined. It's ruined. If they're a CEO, if they're a preacher, if they're a general, if they're a congressman, if they're a banker, their reputation is ruined. Not just with the public, but with their wife, their kids, their extended family. They will say, how in the hell could you have done this? And it didn't look like you were being forced to do it. You're not a victim. You were a perpetrator. That's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is because of that, they're forced to resign. So they are no longer CEO. They're no longer prince. They're no longer congressman or a general or a policeman or a politician or an actor or a singer. That goes away. The third thing that happens is they are stripped of their money. And this is the most important thing to them. If they could just duck out, I mean, where are they going to go? They can't duck out of the public eye. They're famous. They're famous. So if they disappear with their millions, where can they go? Where in the world could they go that somebody doesn't recognize them, what they did? That's the third thing that happens. Now, of course, we would like to see justice. We would like to see them hung up by their thumbs. We would like to see them, taken out in some way, put in prison for the rest of their lives. I don't think that's going to happen because they can hire the best attorneys that money can buy. But that doesn't protect them against the public. That doesn't protect them against the public. People that you think are the best actor, the best singer, the most wholesome Christian person, once you see what they did in the films and in these still shots, that's over. That's over with. Now, there are those that say, oh, that's just AI. That wasn't me. I didn't do that. No, that's why you use the unredacted files. That's why Epstein Island existed. Epstein Island existed to gather all that information. Epstein and his organization collected and curated that information. Why? Because of what I just told you. Because of the leverage that it gave Epstein and I would say Epstein's handlers, because I don't think it was a brainchild of Epstein. I don't think he was at the top of the knowledge pyramid or the authority pyramid. I think there was somebody above him who said, look, we'll give you all this money, set you up on this island, you bring them in, get them in compromising positions with minors, and then we have them. Anytime we need a bill passed or we need somebody let out of jail or we need money transferred or some illegal transfer covered up, we can get that done because these men are powerful and they have authority, and women too, and women. Let's not leave them out. So that's what's going on with Epstein. And I think in the next few days, it's not going to die because you got Lauren Boebert, you got other congressmen who have seen this, and they're not going to let it lie. They're not going to let it lie. Even Thomas Massey, he will go out in public and say, look, this film with this man, torturing this boy or this girl or having, lewd contact with these children, he needs to end. And they're going to use whatever power they have to make that happen. Now, I don't have a lot of confidence in Congress, and neither do you. Congress doesn't arrest people. Congress can refer people for arrest, but the Department of Justice doesn't do diddly squat. So this doesn't need to be done in the Department of Justice. It doesn't need to be done in front of a badge. It needs to be done in public. We're the ones that do it. We're the ones that do it. The $10 million fine that's working its way through the process against Bad Bunny for basically doing burlesque in Spanish and talking about molesting young girls in the VIP room of all different nationalities, young girls, fresh girls, he calls them. This is nothing but sex, nothing but songs about the abuse of little girls and sex. And just listen to the words. I don't care what the music sounds like. Listen to the words. So this is a violation of FCC rules. Prime time, you can't use profanity in that way. But that's what he did. And so the FCC is suing him. And the fines are $10 million. It's more money than he made in the halftime show of the Super Bowl. And it's a stain on the Super Bowl. I doubt they will ever do that again. You could see the look on the faces of Goodell and other organizers while the halftime show was going on. They looked up in the stands and said, "Oh shit, what did we just do?" And then all of the videos, and there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, videos of people with their earbuds in watching the Turning Point USA halftime show on their phones while they're in the stands at the Super Bowl game. And not only that, there were a lot of Super Bowl seats that were empty. They didn't sell all the tickets. It wasn't because of the teams. Everybody wanted to see the Seahawks beat the Patriots. It was because of the halftime show. That's why there were a lot of empty seats at the Super Bowl. It was a great venue in San Jose, great venue, great weather, but they couldn't fill the seats. Not enough demand. So the public has a tremendous amount of power. Even though the lawsuits may happen, and by the way, did you hear about the Seahawks quarterback? He won $178,000 as quarterback of the winning team in the Super Bowl. And he was taxed like $229,000 by the state of California for the 7 days that he was in the state, right? He wasn't in the state, doesn't live in the state, not a resident of the state, but he earned the money in the state. And so the state is collecting $229,000 in state tax. He lost money. The game cost him $50,000. Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? The point I'm trying to make is the public has tremendous power here, and we need to exercise it. We need to exercise it. Yeah, Bad Bunny. You weren't listening. Yeah, it was Bad Bunny that was vulgar and nasty and using profanity and talking about raping young girls in the VIP room, getting them naked and having them, well, you know, because his member is so magnificent, everyone must have it. It was disgusting, absolutely disgusting. I'm glad I didn't listen to it in Spanish, but I did hear the translation in English. Some guys on YouTube and on Twitter and TikTok put it out there in English, and it was disgusting. And he's going to be sued. He's going to be done. I don't know if it'll reflect on Goodall. I don't know the answer to that question. I do know Goodall's made them a lot of money. I'm sure the owners are happy with him. He's not going anywhere, but people learn by mistakes. Oh, yes, this, I'm sorry. I had this made, a button that says Control-Alt-Deport. If you would like one, I have them. I've made them. So if you want one, I need to cover my cost of making them. They're rather expensive to make these in small quantities. And the shipping. So I'm talking $10. If you want one of these Control-Alt-Deport buttons to put on your hat or put on your vest or whatever, I will sell them. So if you want to write me in the contact, if you go to my website, brooksagnew.com, all one word, you'll notice a contact up in the upper corner. Use that form and tell me you're interested in buying one of the Control-Alt-Deport buttons, and I will set you up. I don't have it for sale on the website yet. I'm not in line with other products that I have on there, but I'm going to get it on there where I have my hats too. I'm not wearing my X Squared Radio hat, but you can buy X Squared Radio hats, and you can get X Squared Radio coffee mugs and other cool stuff at that website. So I have a lot of people use those coffee mugs. They're pretty good. All right, let's talk a little bit about what is it? Bunny equals white rabbit equals adrenochrome. Oh yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that too, East Coast 20. As rather disgusting, but officially it's been put in the crosshairs. Let's talk a little bit about the ballroom. It's not in the news much because it's going so well. The White House ballroom construction is not only on budget, unlike the Federal Reserve building, it's not only on budget, It is ahead of schedule. It is ahead of schedule because he controls the permits, right? We don't have a Karen Bass saying, "Oh, you can't get a permit to build that. You have to go through this and this and this and this." Easy peasy. And Trump knows all about permits. So, and he unveiled new images of what he calls the Great Ballroom, rising on the side of the former East Wing, which I don't know if you've ever been to the White House. I'll describe the East Wing to you here in just a little bit, but gosh, what an abortion of a building. Anyway, when it's finished, it's going to be the finest ballroom ever built anywhere in the world, and I believe it. He added that presidents have sought such a space for more than 150 years and said the new facility will be the best. Because of its unprecedented structural safety and security features, it will also be used for future presidential inaugurations. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Trump. The renderings show a grand neoclassical addition designed to blend with the historic executive mansion. And I don't know if you've, like I said, been to the White House, especially the East Wing, which was awful. The estimated $400 million project would replace what Trump described as a very small, which it was, dilapidated, which it was, East Wing. It was just an old building, narrow hallways, narrow doorways. You couldn't do anything in it. You could maybe put a bunch of cubicles in it, but it was. This is going to be a 90,000 square foot ballroom complex capable of hosting large scale state functions and official events. Probably the biggest plant I ever built was, I built one 28,000 square feet, and I thought that was a big building till we filled it up with equipment. But then I built one 80,000 square feet, and I thought that was a big building till we filled it up with equipment. I mean, it just fills up quick. 90,000 square feet sounds like a lot. I mean, you think of it, it's like, oh, wow, it's 900 feet by 100 feet, but it doesn't work out that way. It's, have you ever been to a big hotel or a convention center, and they have literally 500,000 square foot floor spaces, but they're divided up with these walls that can, pull into position, and divided up into 100,000 square foot spaces or 50,000 square foot spaces. And you can host a lot of different events. If you've ever been to Vegas, which is the, convention center of the world, or at least the United States, you've been to CES, or you've been to, what's the biggest one out there? The auto show one. It's not CES. It's a national auto show, but it's in Vegas, and it is something else. You can walk for 5 days and not see it all. And it's great. I mean, and to get a space in there, it takes you 3 years. There's a 3-year waiting list to get a booth at that show. That's how popular it is. The ballroom at the White House is way, way overdue. If you've ever been to DC and you've seen, the Congressional Auditorium, which is partially underground, it's okay. It's maybe a large movie theater kind of style with a stage and seats, rigid seats that you can't take out. But the ballroom is something where you can bring people from all over the world, and you literally could put 10,000 people in this building. 90,000 square feet, you could put 10,000 people in a seat and feed them. And that's really what the United States of America needs. One rendering viewed from across the street near the Treasury building, which is way, way over budget. And I mean, let me ask you a question with the Treasury building with respect to that. You don't really know the details, and I don't know all the details, but this is what I know. They tried to remodel that building, not by going up, by going down. They actually are trying to build a basement underneath the Treasury building next to the Potomac River. Does that make a lot of sense to you? To dig underground below the water table right next to the Potomac River? Does that make sense to you to go down instead of up? None to me. That's why it's so far over budget, and it's a big money laundering conundrum. This is going to be cool. Events at the White House are outside the East Wing on the grass. And what they do is they bring in tents, big tents, and they set these tents up. And the tents are cool. They have heat, they have cooling, they have, steam tables with, 5-star chefs everywhere. And the tables are not that bad. The issue is getting from the East Wing to the tent. Now, if you're wearing sneakers and jeans, it's not that big a deal. But let me tell you, you're not going to an event dressed like that. You're going to an event in a tux. You're going to an event in high heels and an evening gown. Guess where you have to walk? You have to walk outside in the grass or on a walkway that they put in the grass. It is, if you've been to Washington, D.C., in that area in July, anywhere from July to, I'd say, mid-September, it's 90 degrees and the humidity is also 95%. So if you're in a evening gown with stockings and heels and you have a nice dress on, sequins or whatever, or you're in a tux with a black jacket, that walk from the East Wing to that tent, you will ruin your clothes. You will ruin your clothes. No, without any rain, just the heat and humidity. Now, if you try to walk that in the winter from December to, say, April 1st, and you don't have a coat, you're going to freeze your ass off. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Now, I've been to beach parties. I've been to conventions all over the world, all kinds of conditions. And frankly, some of them are embarrassing, but not the White House. Holy crap, you don't want that at the White House. I mean, if you have Saudi Arabia here, or you have Israel here, or you have the king here, or you have the King of England, or you have the head of state of any other country in the world, you don't want them to melt in the weather because there's no Uber to go from the East Wing to the tent. And the tent looks ratty. I mean, it's been used a lot of times. They set it up, it's white. It has like vinyl windows to let some light in, but it's a disaster. And it's a big safety risk too. It doesn't provide much security to it. This ballroom is long overdue, and I'm so glad that they tore that nasty-ass East Wing down, which has been remodeled about 18 times. And it seems like every time they remodel it, it gets worse. The Constitution requires the oath of office, but does not mandate a specific location for the ceremony. While modern inaugurations typically take place on the west front of the U.S. Capitol, because it's in January and you freeze your ass off, other sites have been used throughout history, according to the Library of Congress. Project was drawn opposition from the National Trust for Historic Preservation, which, of course, they filed a lawsuit seeking to halt the construction. It didn't go anywhere. The group argues that the demolition of the East Wing and the subsequent construction moved forward without required approvals and congressional authorization. Doesn't need it. A federal judge has indicated a decision on whether to block the renovation could come soon. I don't think that's going to be at least heeded at all. The Trump administration maintains that presidents have long exercised authority to modify and update the White House to meet evolving needs. Even Obama did it, built a $23 million basketball court. Supporters say the ballroom will eliminate the need for large tents on the South Lawn during major state dinners and formal gatherings, providing a permanent, secure, and architecturally consistent venue. And you know it's going to be. Trump's not going to build something like Obama's, dog food factory that he calls his National Library or his Obama Library. I know it looks like a North Korean North Korean guard tower. That's what somebody said. I agree with that, but if you've ever seen a dog food factory, you'll know what I'm talking about. He framed the project as a long overdue modernization that respects tradition while preparing the White House for the future. This space will serve our country well, hopefully centuries into the future. And I believe that. I believe it'll be built with that in mind. Nothing cheap. I don't think. Did you see the Trump renovation of the old post office? You ever been to D.C. and stayed? So I didn't get to stay there because it was filled up, but it's stunning. It was the old post office. They were going to tear it down. They auctioned it off. It's absolutely amazing. Also done ahead of schedule and under budget, and it's phenomenal. Turned into a hotel. Now, the ballroom plan described in public filings and news reports, 90,000 square feet, as I said, has drawn, of course, the left doesn't like it because it's Trump, but everybody else loves it. Let's see. He describes the construction as too far along to reverse, writing that structural and security materials, including structural steel, bulletproof windows and glass, and anti-drone roofing had already been ordered. How about that? There's no practical or reasonable way to go back. It's too late. Trump also criticized the National Trust for Historic Preservation as a radical left organization and questioned why the challenge was not brought earlier. He wrote that Congress never tired or wanted to stop the ballroom project and never tried, and described the planned addition as a benefit for the future administrations. Because, if a Democrat becomes president, he's going to use the hell out of that ballroom, too. The proposal has faced scrutiny beyond the courtroom, including review by federal planning and design bodies that weigh major changes to prominent federal properties and vistas. Let's see here. This is a gift. It means it costs the taxpayers nothing, unlike Obama's basketball court, which cost the taxpayers $23 million. It's a gift of up to $400 million. It came from private investors. They're getting nothing in return for it. White House would no longer be forced to use a cheap and unsafe tent. You wouldn't be able to keep anybody safe. I mean, you could drop whatever you wanted out of a helicopter and you could kill everybody in the place with a tent. Those tents are not secure at all. Yes. Making such a large gift to the USA was thought to be, by almost everyone, a wonderful thing to do. But no, as usual, I got sued, this time by the radical left National Trust for Historic Preservation, a group that couldn't care less about our country. All of the structural steel, windows, doors, AC, heating equipment, marble, stone, precast concrete, bulletproof windows and glass, anti-drone roofing, everything has already been ordered. It's on its way. Why didn't these obstructionists and troublemakers bring their baseless lawsuit earlier? Congress didn't care about it. For those who are interested, the tiny East Wing was so bastardized and changed and rebuilt over the years. Yes, it was remodeled like 18 times. In fact, the time I was there, they were remodeling it. The guys were outside. I swear they were applying concrete mortar with a spoon. No, I mean a spoon, like a tablespoon. And it was like these guys must be getting paid by the hour because it was crazy slow. The so-called preservationists who get their money from the most unusual of places should not be allowed to stop this desperately needed addition to our great White House, a place that a president has never needed permission to change or enhance. Which has been done, like I said, 18 times by various presidents, because of the special grounds on which it sits, no matter how big that enhancement may be. In this instance, it is being done with the design, consent, and approval of the highest levels of the United States military and Secret Service. The mere bringing of this ridiculous lawsuit has already, unfortunately, exposed this heretofore top secret fact. Stoppage of construction at this late date, when so much has already been ordered and done, would be devastating to the White House, our country, and all concerned. That's, I think it's par for the course. It's just disgusting to watch it work. What is it? The ballroom bar is called the Puoshi Oasis. I didn't know that. Washaki Win. I've never been to the ballroom bar. Yeah. Gramanon, that's good. The Obama Library looks like a prison. Well, I don't know. I think prisons have windows. This does not. Do you ever remember the movie District 9? Do you remember the movie District 9? It was an alien ship that shows up hovering above Earth, and it's a bunch of refugees from another planet and a bunch of overlords and some kind of, mantis insectoid kind of aliens. And what we do with them, it's in South Africa. What we do with them is we build a section called District 9 where they have to stay in. They don't integrate with humans. They can live in that section. It's like a big junkyard. I mean, corrugated tin, nasty conditions. The food that they eat is disgusting as hell for humans anyway. It looks like a structure in District 9. That's what it looks like. And I understand it's already got a lot of cracks in it, where the concrete has begun to crack. Is it open? I don't think it's open yet. Interesting. It looks like a prison. And it probably is in some ways. I'm going. You bet. When the ballroom is done, whatever event is there that, allows scientists like me to go, I'm going to go. Sure. I mean, I've been to the Congressional Auditorium many times, spoken with Congress people, spoken with cabinet members of various presidents, tried to explain to them about the asteroid mining and the future of energy. They don't want to hear it. I tried to explain to them about electric vehicles. They didn't want to hear it because that wasn't General Motors, but I'm not afraid. I'm willing to go again. I'll go again. We'll talk about it. What is it, Ohm 3? I agree, but according to Richard Sauter interview with Atwood, their cities built under the ocean floor, so they are likely lying to all of us. I'm not sure. I don't know what ocean floor, and I don't know if they're our cities or not. I mean, there's really no reason to build it under the ocean floor. You could build it on the bottom of the ocean, right? All you have to do is protect it against the water pressure. I mean, seriously, people, how much do we know about our oceans? I mean, we know the shipping lanes and all that stuff. And what? No, Google Earth is a bunch of crap. Most of what you see on Google Earth is animated. So don't go by that. Don't use those animated things that Google has. And by the way, Google Earth, above the 60th parallels, both directions, is also animated. It is drawn in. It's not actual imagery because we don't have satellites between the 60th parallel and the 99th, which I guess would be the North Pole or the South Pole. No imaging available above there because for security reasons, because that imagery can be fed to cruise missiles and be used for targeting. So none of that's accurate. It's not accurate. So not all the ocean is deep like that. It's not like 20,000 feet. Some of it's a few hundred feet. And I mean, if I was an alien race living here on this planet, I wouldn't build a habitat in the mountains somewhere where people could get to it. I think that would be dumb. For one thing, I'd be exposed to all the germs and everything that humans have. And I don't know if my race from another world is going to have all the necessary immunities to be able to withstand that. So I build my city on the ocean floor, and there's plenty of food in the sea, plenty of energy in the sea. Nobody's going to bother me because no humans ever go there. There's probably, 80 to 90% of our ocean that is totally unexplored. I know this. So why not? Yeah, if you can build a structure that can travel through the deep of space to here, it should be no trouble to build something that can withstand water pressure and put it on the sea floor. Okay, not all love is deep. I agree. But, we fall in and out of love with the same people over and over again. And over time, that grows into an endearing love. Before you know it, you've been together 20 years and you can't imagine life without that person. A weekend maybe without that person, but not a life. You have to be. No, I'm not saying the world is flat, Gramanon. If you go to the LIGOs, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatories, and I've been to all of them, one of the things that you'll see as part of this great interferometer are these very long vacuum tubes down which they shoot a laser beam. And this is the laser beam that has been crafted over 30 years to be very stable, very quiet. They use a lot of technology to get the noise out of the laser beam, to get the vibrations from the earth out of the mirrors that are reflecting the laser beams. And one of the things that you'll notice, I don't know if I have the pictures with me or not. I might be able to share a couple pictures with you that will explain something to you. Just hold on one second. Let me see if I can pull this up. I believe I have it. It's possible. Well, you know what? It's too far away. It'd take me a while to find it. But the laser, of course, is straight because it's light, right? It shoots from one end to the other end, and the source is 4 kilometers away from the mirror that reflects the beam. 4 kilometers is a long way. You can't even see the end of the tunnel. So, I mean, even when you're in it, even when you're in the chamber, you can't see the end of the tunnel because it's just too far. It converges on you. You have to walk down to the end of that tunnel. But the issue is that you realize in very short order that, here we go, I got some pictures of it. Just to give you an idea, I'm going to go ahead and pull this over here. This is a picture. Hold on a second, let me get to presentation. Okay, so I'm standing in the protective building. The laser tube, the vacuum tube, is to my right in this picture. And it is an insulated tube to keep it stable. But one of the things you'll notice is that these are up on stands on the concrete. Let's see if I can pull up another picture here so you can see this. Yeah. So you can see down to the end of this tunnel. And you see these stands that the tunnel is on? There's one here, there's one here, there's one here, there's one here, one here. It goes all the way down. It converges. You can't see the end of it. One of the things that you notice is the ones that are here are about 9 inches off the concrete, the iron plate. When you get down to the end, it's over 8 feet off the concrete. Why is that? Because the curvature of the earth, it curves downward. The laser has to stay straight. So the one thing that you notice right away when you go to the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatories is that the earth cannot possibly be flat. It has to be round. Here's the instrument. This is the one in Italy, by the way. I don't have pictures of this in the US ones because they were secure. I couldn't get in, but I could get into the Italian one. So now you know for sure. Okay, the earth is round. All right, there's your proof. Anybody else be able to show you a picture like that? No. I guarantee there's no one on the planet that can show you pictures like that. But I can. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about other big subjects. What is that? There are less particles per cubic meter in there than there is in the vacuum of space. Maybe. I mean, it takes a couple of weeks to evacuate all the air out of there, but I think it's a big volume. It's a big volume. I don't know how big the tube is. I think it's about 30 centimeters in diameter. So it's a lot of volume to pull the air out of. And the mirror is made of sapphire, and it hangs on wires, and it's weighted so that any vibration in the earth itself doesn't transfer to the mirror. This is how they mitigated a lot of the noise out of the system, so that they knew that when they tuned all these things and put them in sync with one another, that they're measuring space and not measuring the earth. That's why they built the instrument. By the way, it's very expensive. Each one of these costs about $130 million to build. And then it takes about $10 million a year to maintain them. Think of that. Think of Dr. Kip Thorne going to Congress and say, we want to build a big Michelson-Morley interferometer. And they probably would. What? A what? Why do you want to build this? Well, he had to explain to them, this is the only way to directly measure the presence of a black hole. Well, that's not very exciting to a congressman, but it's way exciting to a physicist. So the point is that he was a great salesman in between him and Stephen Hawking's and, okay, maybe Carl Sagan and other people like me. We prevailed upon them and we were able to get the structures built. I've been to all of them in the U.S. and the one in Italy. I have yet to see the one in France, but I understand it's just like the one in Italy. So it's okay. It's okay. And yes, the presentation was in Italian, but I didn't have to be able to understand the language because all the slides were mine. All the slides were basically mine. So everything that they showed was exactly what I show in my lectures. So I was able to explain it to the non-Italians there, what was going on. And the lady that made the presentation, even though she gave the presentation in Italian, she also spoke English. So we had a great conversation afterwards. It was really cool. Science is a universal language, isn't it? All right, don't forget, you can get this great Control-Alt-Deport button. Write me at my contact. It's up there on the right-hand side. Not on this page, but in the page I'm about to show you when we go to break. And you'll be able to write me and say, hey, I would love to have one of those buttons or 20 of those buttons or whatever. And I'll send them to you for $10 a piece, and that includes shipping. I'm not making any money on them. Trust me, they're like I don't know, $8 a piece to make. But, you know, it's kind of cool. It's a novel thing, and maybe it'll start a conversation or a fight, whatever you're game for. Ariane, what is that? RN? All right, Ariane or RN, welcome to the program. She's over on Rumble. It's good to have new people. I like the name. It's very cool. Yeah, we're going to get more fascinating stuff. We'll be right back after this. Don't go away. More America Free Radio right after this.
listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. And we'll be right back after this message.
Tune in to the Family Industrial Complex podcast here on Revolution Radio, Studio B, every Wednesday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Get fit, empowered, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Rooster has crowed out the opening bars of a new day. You've dragged yourself out of bed. You turn on your device. You want to know what's going on in the world. But you're hungry for a topical show that serves up those breakfast headlines just that little bit differently. Do you like your early morning news the way you like your eggs over easy? Served with slathers of salsa-like sass? Do you like those first headlines of the day to deliver a punch as powerful as that first cup of joe? Join Mitchell Bupp at his breakfast table for Revolution in the Morning, where he will digest, dissect, and dismantle those new day's national and global news headlines with razor-sharp relish. Find Mitchell here at revolution.radio every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on Studio B.
Through everything, we have to remember that we have more in common than not in common. And to find this common ground, tune in to Conversations with Eagle Flower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio A. Because we come to this table of life to learn in the best possible way and experience this gift of life from our mutual creator. So let's learn together and build our best future with Conversations with Eagle Flower, Wednesdays, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Studio A on Revolution Radio.
I will defend myself against their tyranny. Number 3 is my radio broadcast. I'm squarely in front of the public all the time, and they all know what's going on.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
Hello, my name is John Wayne, and I do a broadcast here at freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, called The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
Freedom and fear are at war.
And folks, I assure you, we are in Defense Mission 1. As we journey perilously through this paradigm that we currently reside in, and I ask that you join me every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1.
We shall never surrender.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for hanging in there while we took that short break. Now back to America Free Radio with host Brooks Agnew here at Revolution Radio.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Revolution Radio, for that great station identification. So several questions in the chat room while we were at break. Let me address those first. About Toxically Masculine Tuesday, for people that are trying to figure out what that is Toxically Masculine Tuesday right here. It is on every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's myself, Mike Barra, Steve Dorn, and Blake Wally. And we cover the news, but we cover from a toxically masculine point of view. I think it's the best roundtable on the internet, bar none. Really, you need to tune in. We didn't have it the last Tuesday or the Tuesday before because Mike Barra was a little bit under the weather. I think he's back up, and we're going to do this week's on Thursday. So it's going to be Toxically Masculine Thursday this week at 9 p.m. On MikeBarra33.com. So you can catch that, or you just click this link right here on my website, right here. If you click that link, it'll take you straight there. There's that covered. Now, the LIGOs, that's the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. You can just put LIGO into DuckDuckGo and you'll see them all. There's one in Hanford, Washington. There's one in Livingston, Louisiana. Okay, I've been to both of those. There's one in Italy, in Milan, outside of Milan, which is very cool. So once you get to all those three, then you'll have the gist of it. But you can go to either one of them. They're all open to the public. You can get a tour when you go there. Just make an appointment. It doesn't cost anything, and you can go learn even more. Or you can take my lecture. It's on my website at brooksagnew.com. And that's where we're going to go right now. So if you're listening by audio, you 4 million listeners out there on Revolution Radio, listening either to an archive or to this show live, go to my website, which is brooksagnew.com, brooksagnew.com. Those of you watching by video, it's super easy. We're just going to click on this link right here that says Brooks Agnew's homepage. You'll know you're in the right place because it'll say, I'm Brooks Agnew. There's my picture. It just doesn't get any easier than that. Now, as for the buttons, K.O. Kelly was saying, buttons, what buttons? This is the Control-Alt-Deport button that I designed. Okay, it's a black button. It pins on your shirt. I have one here on my shirt right now. I will sell you these for $10 a piece, and that includes the shipping. So I'm not making any money on it. I'm just trying to get a discussion started, and this is my way of doing it. Okay, let's go to my website here. Oh my goodness, we're stuck there again. Okay. Two things. One is two blue buttons. One that says get my free newsletter. That's pretty self-explanatory. I don't send it out any more than 2 times a week. Sometimes I don't send one out, but no more than 2 times a week. I'm not going to spam you. You're going to get a link to tonight's program so you can share it with your friends. And you get links to all other goodies that we have on our website. It's a great resource to have. And the other is Ivan and fenbendazole without a prescription. Now, you've already heard what these great medications do. I can't improve on that. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can get the website to actually work. No, of course, it's not going to work. So hang on one second while I blast over there. All right, so this is going to take you to a page in my website called Health and Safety, and you're going to learn about the great medications ivermectin and fenbendazole. You know what they do, you just don't know where to get them. Well, now you do, because you can get them through my website at wholesale prices, and it is free shipping. Anywhere in the United States, free shipping. This is what they look like on the website. This is what they look like in person. See? So we will ship those to you. Wow, I hate these pop-ups. They're terrible. And then this is the fenbendazole. And this is the 444 milligrams. So this is the most potent version. Now, I have a lot of customers that are treating their own cancer with this. And I have to tell you, I'm absolutely humbled by the emails that I get from people. They've been through chemo or they're getting ready to go through chemo and they start on these and next thing you know, the tumor's gone. Now, I'm not saying that happens with everybody. I'm sure some of it's anecdotal, but my God, you know, this won't hurt you and it won't cause you any pain and it may cure you. And that's what you're looking for, right? Is the cure. If you want to know what to do, I don't know everything, but this guy does. Here's the book, Fenbendazole and Ivermectin Protocols. I'm not making any money on it. I'm just providing you the link for it. Get the handbook, read it, and you can take advantage of it because now you can get the ivermectin and the fenbendazole at wholesale prices shipped straight to your house. And don't forget about the True Niagen. I take this every single day. I have since 2018. We're now in 2026. Go back to my archives and look at the 2018. In fact, if you look at the picture on my website, that is a 2015 photograph. 2000, I think maybe it's even 2012. I have not aged. I don't wear glasses. My skin is smooth. I don't have any wrinkles. I have plenty of energy. I go to the gym 5 times a week. It's because of the True Niagen. True Niagen teaches your body how to make NAD again. You made it great when you were young, up until about age 45, and then you stopped making it in big quantities. And what happened is your mitochondria and your muscles began to get more sparse. Your telomeres on your chromosomes began to burn down, and you get this disease called age. Yeah, age is no fun. Nobody wants it. So I say to hell with it. Start taking the True Niagen. Keep your telomeres. Keep your wits. Keep your life. We don't even know what the end game is with this. This came out in 2018. I started on it. I've been taking it now 8 years and I literally have not aged. I'm in the best shape of my life right now. And I've had my health problems, but I just work through them. And the NAD keeps your energy level and your health, your DNA, not your DNA, but your chromosomes where they should be. We don't know. In mice, this has tripled the lifespan of mice. And what they do is they let the mouse get old. It's an elderly mouse. And then they give it NAD. And then the mouse rejuvenates. And it outlives its pups. And it outlives its grandchildren. 3 times the age for a mouse. So we don't even know what it will do for humans. Humans may live 200, 250 years. As long as you keep the NAD high in your system, there's no aging. You don't burn down. So all my friends take this and they don't stop. They swear by it. I swear by it. I've actually stopped a couple times because I didn't have the money or I just forgot. And next thing you know, my ass is dragging my tracks out at the end of the day. So I got back on it and here I am. And it sits right over there in the windowsill by my sink. I do it every single day. I take 600 milligrams. All right, let's see. Was there something else I wanted to cover on my website? I think that's, don't forget about the zinc. If you're going to take the ivermectin and the fenbendazole, please take the zinc. The zinc preps your cell walls so that the antiparasitics can go to work on the parasites in your cell and your cellular level, and you'll clean all that stuff out. I have people that have written me letters, getting rid of skin cancer, prostate cancer, cervical cancer, breast cancer, and the other is leukemia. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. That's a weird one that is not easily cured. But these new cancers, even the old ones, they act like parasites. And as it turns out, these molecules in the ivermectin and the fenbendazole attacks the protein that these cancer cells use to multiply, to divide uncontrollably. And what happens is they stop dividing, they grow old and die. They grow old and die, and the tumors go away. A lot of it's brought on by the jab, these turbo cancers. People get cancers, 4 or 5 different kinds at the same time. All I'm saying is try it. Just try it. It's less than $1 a tablet, so you can make it happen. All right, let's get back to it because we've got stuff we want to talk about. Let's see here. Okay, we're back. Yeah, you just go to my website, which is brooksagnew.com. You want the button that I showed here, the Control-Alt-Deport button. All you have to do is contact me on my contact form, and I'll set up a way for you to get it. Yes, Chris, don't worry about that. We used to take 3 to 4 weeks to deliver, and in mid-December, we moved our warehouse from Japan to the U.S. Thought it would go smoothly. It didn't. We got hit with a huge snowstorm. It delayed all my shipments. I got my first back order last Saturday, and I shipped out everything that was due in December. My next one's supposed to arrive Friday, and then it's going to arrive very steadily after that. So don't you worry about your order being 2 weeks. That's nothing. That's nothing. We will send out a tracking number, usually within 24 hours of your order. Once our warehouse gets filled up, and then you'll get your package 3 days later. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Hang in there. Have a little patience. It will come, Chris, I promise. We have 100% delivery satisfaction. If you have any questions, use the contact form and write me. My address is on the receipt that you got. Write me, call me. I answer the phone myself. So it's a one-man show here. All right, let's talk a little bit about what is going on with the midterms. Of course, one of the procedures that Democrats like to install in elections is the cheat by mail. Now, they don't like us to call it cheat by mail, but damn it, that's what it is. It is massive counterfeit ballot operations that they have honed with artificial intelligence to insert counterfeit ballots. These are ballots that are printed by a computer for dead people, for in the right numbers to win these down ballot elections. And they intend on doing it for 2026. Everyone out here, everyone, and we're talking about mainstream media, which is us. Forget about CNN and ABC. That's not mainstream media anymore. We call them legacy media. It means old. It means they're actually smaller than we are. They're smaller than we are. When you consider the collective listenership of the independent news media like America Free Radio, we dominate. We outnumber them. We outnumber them 3-4 to 1. We're reaching people with the truth. And that's what they don't want. What they do is they reach people with a script. They reach people with a script. And I don't mean the same idea. I mean the same damn words. And what they're designed to do is create a propaganda population. Well, you're not that, or you wouldn't be here at American Free Radio. You're not the propaganda generation. You're free thinkers. And now the fight is on. So there are schemes out there that allow votes to be accepted and counted even if they're not cast on election day, right? So which is what we're trying to stop with this Save America Act. The fight now is pending before the U.S. Supreme Court and a longtime government watchdog, Judicial Watch. I'm sure you've heard of them. They have filed a friend of the court brief arguing that accepting votes after the legal election day is closed is without precedent or legal grounds. They're trying to stop it. And what this will do is it'll short circuit this cheat by mail system, because you have to understand how this works. At around midnight, they know how many votes they got to have in order to win. And so they order them up. and they cost anywhere from $20 to $60 a piece. Each vote costs them between $20 and $60 a piece. What they do is they say, okay, we need 2,815 votes in this precinct. We need 3,100 in this district. We need 62 in this district. And what the AI will do is it will go find those numbers of people that they have. And believe me, they hacked it in 2018. They hacked Equifax. They have it all. They have names, addresses, they have signatures, they have voting affiliations, when you've last voted, and a lot of these people have never voted or didn't vote in a long time, or they're dead. And then what they do is they put these into a computer printer, and the computer printer prints each ballot individually with the name and address and all that stuff on it, plus all the ballot selections that they want. And it's not just president, it's every single ballot is identical. They're all identical. And don't worry about that, special ballot paper and all those forensic marks. They buy that paper. They buy the paper. It costs them millions, but they buy that paper. So you don't worry about that. They can counterfeit that easy. So the printers produce the ballots. 2,812 for this district, 62 for that one, 3,500 for this one. And then they load them up and they deliver them. Well, that delivery can take anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, sometimes a little longer. And sometimes they need so many votes, like what they did in Arizona. They had to print for 3 days. Yeah, they printed ballots for 3 days. That's how long it took them to print the ballots to beat Kari Lake. So once the ballots were delivered, and we know this because we caught their vans driving from the printing operation across the city to the counting operation. We caught their vans physically. We filmed their vans, license plate numbers. We called 911 and said, there are counterfeit ballots in this van. Please stop this van and seize the ballots. And the police refused to do it. The police refused to stop the vans. And so for 3 days, those presses ran. And of course, the rest is Katie Hobbs' history. She was able to defeat Kari Lake with piles and piles of counterfeit ballots. And I spoke to the Attorney General. I spoke to one of the state congressmen about it. No, they couldn't do anything about it. So this cheat by mail is a very legitimate system. And it's present in at least 15 states. 15 states. There was a nonprofit organization called Common Cause. It is a multi-billion-dollar, foreign-funded, foreign-owned non-governmental organization that is contracted with 15 states. Wisconsin and Colorado and Pennsylvania, I'm telling you. And the contract says that you will cast your vote with a national popular vote, regardless of what your people say in your state. Well, how do you do that? How do you do that? You generate the counterfeit ballots. And it's a big deal. It's a multi-billion-dollar. Well, look what they're playing. They're playing $1 trillion game. They're playing $1 trillion game for all the marbles. And they want this 2026 election so bad. So bad. But this Judicial Watch fight involves an election integrity case, and it was brought on behalf of the Libertarian Party of Mississippi. The 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals struck down a state law letting election officials count ballots that are up to 5 days past the deadline, because that's how long it takes for the printers to print those ballots. Well, the leftists then appealed to the high court. In its filing, Judicial Watch points out that the ordinary meaning of election at the time Congress enacted the statutes includes the full process of voting and the receipt of ballots by officials. Counting post-election day ballots is a relatively recent practice. We call it ballot stuffing. That's what it used to be called in the old days. It doesn't have any historic foundation after Election Day. Allowing ballots to trickle in after Election Day creates opportunities for fraud and erodes public confidence. This country, the United States of America, was built on revolution. It is built on revolution, and we didn't stop. We set up a system that allows the people in every single state to rebel against their leaders every 2 years. Every 2 years, you can go back to the ballot and say, I want this bastard thrown out. I want him replaced with this guy or this woman. That allows us to have rebellions, peaceful rebellions at the ballot box. It's the American way. But what has always been the American way is we tell the best story that we can. We buy the TV commercials that we can. We dye our hair. We lose our weight, whatever we got to do to win. And when the election day comes, that's it. If you lose, I'll get you in 2 years. That's the way it was done. But since Bill Clinton, since 1992, we have begun to lose our faith in our election infrastructure. And when they almost stole the 2016 election, and then they did steal the 2018 election, and they did steal the 2020 election, and they did steal, well, they tried to steal the 2022 election, but we did it too big to rig. The people are losing faith in the election infrastructure. In other words, our public confidence is not there anymore. And you can't take a country that is built on rebellion and take away its means to rebel, because they're going to rebel anyway. They're just going to find another way to do it. So anyway, the legal organization charters, the whole point of the federal election day statutes is to set a single uniform day for the election. Allowing ballots to trickle in days or weeks after the election is antithetical to that basic goal. Indeed, a patchwork of state ballot receipt deadlines replicates the problems Congress was trying to remedy in the first place with a national ballot day. That's why it was done that way. It is entirely implausible to conclude that Congress, when thrice exercising its preemptive power under the Elections and Electors clauses, left the door open for states to vitiate or violate those statutes by postponing electoral outcomes with post-election ballot receipt deadlines. Oh, we're probably not going to have all the counting done for 6 or 7 days. Bullshit. Congress certainly did not leave states the power to undo this important federal time regulation. And when Trump talks about nationalizing the election, that is not what he's talking about. That's not what Chuck Schumer is talking about. That's what Chuck Schumer and the rest of them are talking about, that we're going to have a one-party system. Well, no, that's what we have now. We have the establishment party. We have the global syndicate party that controls everything. We want to end that. And that means vote once in person with ID. That's it. That's what the SAVE Act basically is, a Save America Act. Anyway, Judicial Watch continues with their explanation. Through the federal election day statutes, Congress exercised its constitutional authority to set a uniform time for federal elections to occur. Not talking about the local ones, we're talking about the federal elections. Text, historical practice, precedent, and common sense all demonstrate that those statutes set the deadline by which ballots must be submitted and received. Simply put, the ballot box closes on election day, and ballots that are not received until days or weeks after the date specified by Congress arrive after election day will not be counted. If we're allowed to do this, if the Supreme Court decides with Judicial Watch, this stopping the count in the middle of the night and resuming it, on Wednesday and then continuing on Thursday and Friday, and next Monday, we have a winner, that ends. That's done. This is the most important Supreme Court election integrity case in a generation. The pandemic spread of states counting late ballots received after Election Day is a flagrant violation of longstanding federal law that not only encourages voter fraud, which we saw rampant fraud, but also severely undermines the public confidence in our elections. We're losing faith in our election infrastructure. When we do that, it doesn't mean that we're going to stop rebelling. It means we will find another way to rebel. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We have a 250-year history of doing it the right way. The Supreme Court ruled 7-2 in favor of granting standing in a historic case filed by Judicial Watch on behalf of Congressman Mike Bost and 2 presidential electors. The case challenges an Illinois law allowing the counting of ballots received up to 14 days after Election Day. Have you ever heard anything so ridiculous? Well, that's exactly what they did. The filing says, as things stand under state law, the ballot boxes remain open in some states for days and even weeks after the day designated by Congress to bring the election to a close. That reality would make no sense to the legislators who enacted the Election Day statutes or the voters who first read them. Instead, the original public meaning and the common sense of the matter is that the polls and the ballot box should close on Election Day. And that's what's going to happen. And I'm sure 85% of the country is with that. Yeah, I know. Gramanon, I'm with you. You can make all kinds of noise that, we don't want to disenfranchise people. Look, I'm not even really that sold or that, should I say, without empathy about a single election day. Obviously, if we're going to do that, you're going to have a lot more voting places, right? Because people are already standing in line 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to vote. And what's happening is people are driving up and saying, oh, shit, I'm not standing in that line. And so they go. They don't vote. So if you're going to get all these votes in on a single day, you need to have more than one voting precinct. You need to have 5. You need to have 6 so that, I don't know, every 10 blocks you have a voting precinct. And that way you're only dealing with 10 blocks worth of people. I, have to drive like 4 miles to where I vote. But when I get there, it usually takes me about 4 hours to get to the machine to give my information to the lady or a man who's ever working the ballot area to get my ballot in my hand so I can vote it and then run it through the scanner. 4 to 5 hours is a long time, especially if the weather's inclement, if it's cold or hot or rainy or whatever, which it usually is in November, something like that. Have more voting places, have more schools, have more fire departments, whatever it takes to get that done. Or you can allow the early voting, but no mail-in voting. You vote once in person with ID, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on Election Day. It could be before Election Day. Okay? But once that November 5th, 4th, 6th, whatever that Tuesday is, once that day closes out at 8 p.m., that's it. It's done. You don't get to vote again. So if you need 10 days as a window to get everybody to the poll to vote once in person with ID, then do it before the Election Day. But no mail-in voting. No cheat by mail system. All right. I think we beat that one to death, and I think I've made it as simple as I possibly can. And simplicity is the crown of genius, is it not? Vote once in person with ID. All right, let's talk about what happened in El Paso. Wow. It went in and out of the news so fast nobody paid any attention to it. I'm going to try to fill in some of the gaps for you. Some of the people out there, DEFCON 0, Nino, others, they missed it. They just missed it. Talked about it, but they didn't hit the high points. Didn't hit the important parts. This is what you need to know. So Sean Duffy, who is the Transportation Secretary, acted swiftly to address a cartel drone incursion. That's what they're calling it, a cartel drone incursion. Now, and that occurred near the town of El Paso. So they shot the drone down. So it was neutralized pretty quickly. No danger to commercial traffic in the region, blah, blah, blah. But it was the nature of the drone, okay? This was a targeting drone. This wasn't a camera drone. They weren't like taking pictures of the freeway or taking pictures of the airport. This was a targeting drone. Now, when you use, and if you read my book, Charm of Favor, you'll know all about shoulder-fired missiles. They are devastating. A targeting drone is used in conjunction with shoulder-fired missiles. Now, you can, sneak across the border, hunker down beside some sagebrush, and you can shoot a shoulder-fired missile at a jet that's taking off and climbing out, right? But the jet's climbing out at 200 miles an hour away from you, and it's not a fighter jet, so it doesn't have a huge infrared signature. It has no afterburners to speak of, but it does have an infrared signature. So if you have an infrared targeting weapon, you could probably hit one of the jet engines with this missile. That's exactly what happened in Charm of Favor. That's why they took out engine number 4 on Air Force One. But, and it's just a book. It's just a book. It didn't actually happen, but it could happen. That's why I wrote about it. But when you have a targeting drone, you don't have to shoot that rocket from behind the jet. The targeting drone can send the information to the missile, and the missile can then accurately strike its target. So the targeting drone is what caused the no-fly zone to occur. Oh, what did you say? Yes, that's what I said. El Paso was made a no-fly zone. No planes in the air, a no-fly zone. And if you go look at the pictures, look at some of the live cameras, you'll see jets stacked out there waiting to land. Well, there wasn't much you could do about that. Those jets have to land. They got so much fuel and they have freight or people or whatever. But there was nobody taking off. Nobody was taking off. So El Paso became a no-fly zone. This is a big deal. And I don't believe, even if the cartels were, let me put it this way. The fact that they're telling us these were cartels that were doing this does not make any sense to me. What makes sense to me, and this is why I run this through my logic detector, what makes sense to me is that we are actively threatening Iran. We are actively threatening Iran. We want them to stop killing their civilians. We've already moved one carrier group, and we're considering moving another carrier group. By the way, that's another 40 ships. I know, that's a lot. And there's a lot that goes to a carrier group. It's not just like an aircraft carrier. It's all the support ships and subs that go with it. So maybe the mullahs in Iran are saying, you shoot us and we'll shoot you. You shoot us and we will shoot you in your own country, not out at sea. We're not going to shoot at your carriers. We're going to shoot at your passenger jets. And the easiest place to get to are the airports right on the border. And El Paso is right there. I mean, right there. So the War Department stepped on this pretty quick. I already told you that the Transportation Secretary spoke up right away. But the War Department moved even faster. Our assessment this year is that the next-gen counter-drone security will be an emerging theme for guarding high-value assets such as stadiums, government buildings, data centers, and increasingly parts of the border. It hasn't happened yet. They didn't have it in place. It wasn't operational. They didn't take those jets out of there because our stuff was there targeting the skies. It's not there yet. It's not there. We're way behind the curve here. So the FAA announced a notice to airmen. That's called a NOTAM if you watch Monkey Works, a NOTAM, across the border town of El Paso in a large area of southern New Mexico, west of Santa Teresa, has been lifted, finally. The NOTAM that halted all commercial, cargo, and general aviation flights across the region was issued overnight. That is called a no-fly zone. That's what happens in battle areas. CNN reporter Pete Montaigne cited an FAA source who says that the El Paso flight ban was driven by military operations from Briggs Army Airfield at Fort Bliss. Yes, the FAA acted, of course, but it was the military that drove this. They knew they couldn't protect those planes. They didn't have the system in place to do it. Airline sources said that the grounding of flights in El Paso was believed to be tied to the Pentagon's use of counter-drone technology, but that's not true. That is not true. Believed to be does not make it true. That's not what happened. That's what the newspapers want you to believe. But I'm trying to clear this up for you. There was an active threat against aircraft, I believe, with shoulder-fired missiles. Now, shoulder-fired missiles can be fired without the targeting drone, but you could miss, and then you're going to be exposed. But when you put the targeting drone into the theater, it greatly improves your ability to hit the target. Well, the targeting drone was shot down. That wasn't shot down by the FAA. That was shot down by the War Department. Somebody scrambled a jet, went up there, and shot that drone down. So I don't think we're out of the woods yet. There were no strikes that I'm aware of in Mexico over the border. There were no strikes that I'm aware of. I tried to find out, and there was no activity, no reports in that something was shot at on the ground on the Mexican side of the border. I honestly do not believe that even if there were assets there, they were not Mexican. They weren't Mexican, they weren't El Salvadoran, they weren't Cuban. I believe they were Iranian. They were Iranian, and these are the ones that have these kinds of systems in place. Now, the city government, they issued an advisory. And here's what their advisory said for the people in El Paso. The FAA, on short notice, issued a temporary flight restriction halting all flights to and from El Paso and our neighboring community, Santa Teresa, New Mexico. The restriction prohibits all aircraft operations, including commercial, cargo, and general aviation. Those are like Cessnas and private jets, etc. And is effective from February 10th to February 20th. Did you get that? That's a 10-day no-fly zone. We didn't even have that at 9/11. We didn't even have that at 9/11. What it confirms to me, and this is why I'm taking this position, is we didn't have the assets in place to protect this airspace. Yeah, we shot the drone down, but there were no ground targets. Nobody found a guy sitting, outside of town with a shoulder-fired missile ready to fire. But you don't send a targeting drone into the airspace unless you have the assets to back it up. We're not through the woods yet. A 10-day no-fly zone is a big deal. It is impossibly big on U.S. soil. Closing off airspace inside the United States is a very, very rare action. It's only done usually when the president's flying in and going to land. They'll create a NOTAM. So there's no air operations going on anywhere where that president's jet is going to land. But it's temporary. It only takes a couple of hours. Officials with the FAA, they're not saying anything. The War Department, they're not saying anything. A person familiar with the notices asked not to be identified because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. I'm speaking publicly. Said the action to close airspace over a major city for security reasons, not safety reasons, security reasons, over an extended period hasn't happened since 9/11. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Not that it was unsafe. It was insecure. That's a big difference. Big difference, Earth Explorers. Our assessment is that this unusually broad NOTAM over the border town reflects a time-bound, high-issue security concern rather than routine airspace management. You should know this. It went in and out of the news so fast you probably paid no attention to it. It comes as the Trump administration repostures the military to secure the Western Hemisphere, of course. It also comes as we put additional pressure on Iran to stop what they are doing, of course. It comes as the capture of Nicolas Maduro has put pressure on Venezuela and Cuba and other, I could say Russia, I could say China, to attract or elicit kinetic strikes against narco-trafficking vessels. We've seen some of that happen with the boats, but it's going to get worse. And one of the consequences of the Trump administration blowing up the narco boats and dismantling cartel command and control nodes is the increased risk of retaliatory threats against the U.S. But, you know, it's not like you hit us and we stop. You hit us and we escalate. I mean, yes, you have a few helicopters, you know, harshing your gig, or you have a special ops team coming in, a CAG team, come in and take your guys out and do an abduction of a VIP and take them out. And the remains of your people could be gathered up in a doggy bag. Yes, you have that, but you have not dealt with a full mech unit dropped in your backyard. Nobody can withstand that. Nobody. And nobody wants that. They know what we're capable of doing. So the information that I just gave you, that this was a targeting drone, it was in our airspace, I believe leads me to believe that it was integrated with a kinetic system. And the fact that we took the drone down so fast leads me to believe that they decided not to take the kinetic shot, especially since we took the planes out of the air. How many times has that happened, though, that you can remember that there was a threat and nobody did anything about it, and then there was a death? You remember 9/11? We knew that there was a threat that planes could be taken. Everybody knew who they were and what they were doing. Did they do anything about it? No. No, the 9/11 Commission was totally emasculated, just like the Warren Commission was with the assassination of John F. Kennedy. So we prevent. We prevent it from happening instead of allowing it to happen and then chasing our tails and all the political crap that's spewed out of those tails to try to win or lose political points. I know they blamed cartel drones. I know, but cartels, the drones they operate are the kind your kids play with. All right? They're just designed to look for SUVs on the ground so they can run their drugs over the border, so they can get their illegal activities in and out really quick. That's what those drones are for. A targeting drone is a very sophisticated piece of equipment. And it, of course, wasn't taken out by the FAA. It was taken out by the War Department. And some people are saying that we didn't hit it with kinetics. We didn't blow it out of the sky. We deployed directed energy weapons. And we used an experimental laser system that took out the drone. that wouldn't lead to an explosion. It would just down the drone. It would say, okay, well, it's been neutralized, so we're not going to reveal our methods for doing it. In 2023, Langley, which is pretty close to the CIA, Langley Air Force Base coordinated drone swarms, penetrated one of America's most sensitive military installations for weeks. You remember that? And the military could not identify the drones and could not stop them. Everybody was saying, well, shoot the damn things down. You remember even President Trump came out and said, look, they're in our airspace, just burn them out of the sky. But that's not what happened. Not even once. Not even once. And now Fort Bliss. Emergency laser deployment, complete shutdown, quick cover story. You don't deploy experimental directed energy weapons against cartel drones. You just don't. You just don't. You deploy them against threats exhibiting capabilities that conventional systems can't handle. And what capabilities actually forced Fort Bliss to deploy these laser weapons and shut down El Paso's airspace? I don't know. I don't know, but I smell crap. And I have a very good sense of smell, Earth Explorers. I can tell you there's much more to this story than meets the eye. All right, one more story. I'm not happy about it. I am reporting it to you because I think you need to know it. Russia moved swiftly and they seized a shipment that came from Israel. Yeah, it's politically not very smart, right? Now they seized a shipment from Israel and the shipment contained the blood of 10,000 children, according to a leaked report from Russian intelligence. It was an Israeli ship carrying what is described as the largest adrenochrome shipment ever recorded, and it was intercepted by Russian forces at the Tartus naval base in Syria. By the way, the destination for the ship was Hollywood. It was Hollywood. The cargo is labeled as medical humanitarian aid, but what Russian agents found inside was far from humanitarian. Sealed cryogenic containers, military-grade cold storage units, and bottles marked with serial codes linked to covert hospitals and war zones were discovered. They were taking the adrenochrome from injured folks. Putin's adrenochrome task force informed the Kremlin just hours after the operation began. Initial estimates suggest the substance was derived from the blood of at least 10,000 children, many of whom are claimed to have been harvested from the chaos in Ukraine, in Syria, and Gaza. Now, you will recall that huge earthquake that they had in Haiti. You remember that? And the Clintons made all that money. But you know who the first planes were? Yeah, the first humanitarian jets to land were Israeli. There were two of them. They set up advanced triage tents with operating rooms. People were so amazed at the technology, the surgeons and everything that they brought in. Israel did. They had the planes all loaded up, ready to go. Like, I have friends in the mobile triage business. They have tractor trailer rigs that can be picked up by a truck and delivered pretty much anywhere within hours. And they have full everything. They can set up a sterile field outside the truck. They can have surgical rooms, x-ray, all this stuff built in. They're quite elaborate. I've walked all through it. It's a fantastic setup. One of these planes flew the equipment in, and they got set up Johnny on the spot. And the other one flew the harvested organs out. Eyes, hearts, kidneys, everything they could get off those earthquake victims. They carved those people up and froze what they could and got it out of there as quick as possible. Now, I don't doubt this story, even though it's a Turkish newspaper. I don't doubt this story at all. I think that this is something that it horrifies me, because adrenochrome is not just taken from the blood. And you don't just take a person that's unconscious and drain their blood and get the adrenochrome. That's not how it's made. Adreno comes from adrenaline, okay? Adrenaline is generated by the human body when the human body is put under incredible stress, like torture or like facing imminent death. The human body makes this adrenaline. It's not easily obtained. It has to be drawn close to the base of the brain. Yeah, it's not just like drawn out of your arm. You get excited and they draw the blood out of your arm. The patient normally doesn't survive. When you drain the adrenochrome out of them, they typically don't survive. It's murder. And they're also not sedated. They need that fear. They need that belief that they're going to die and there's nothing they can do to save themselves. People are not calm during that situation. They're under fight or flight, except they can't fly. They're bound. They're strapped down, screaming at the top of their lungs as this is drained out of them. 10,000 children. Charlie Kirk knew this. All the people that are dead now. Lincoln Park. You know what Lincoln Park is? Lincoln Park is a facility where they tortured children. That's where the band got its name. By the way, they were going to do a documentary to expose all of that, and 3 of them died within a year. Huge forces out there to try to stop this from being stopped and stop it from being discovered and made public. Yeah, I get you, Delania. I would like to have more proof. I don't trust Turkey, but you know what? I have a lot of friends that I work with, business associates that I work with, and I'm beginning more and more to trust Russia. That doesn't mean that I'm going to become like Scott Ritter. Scott Ritter has lost his freaking mind. I will never listen to anything Scott Ritter says ever again. He has lost his complete mind. He is owned by somebody, because what I heard him say today, I won't repeat. It's the worst propaganda that you could possibly imagine. And coming from a guy like that, who I had respect for a long, long time, especially about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, I'm done. I'm done with Scott Ritter. That's it. So I do trust this source. I'm going to find out more about it, and I'll bring you more information on it on Sunday. I know, Flippy2, that's what I'm saying. We just started the program. It's been 2 hours, and bam, we're through it. My name is Brooks Agnew. This is America Free Radio. Please share this with your friends. And don't forget, on the website, you'll notice that there are links here. You see these social media links? Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. You can follow me on these. And I'm not saying you have to. I don't really pay attention much to the Twitter following, because I get about 50 a week and then lose 50 a week, and somebody takes them away as fast as they come in. But I am reaching further than what it looks like. So you could be part of that. You could be part of that. Just click on these and you can follow me on any of these media, okay? Peace, Earth Explorers. Now go and do great things and look for the good in people and help it to grow a little bit every day. And before long, we'll save the planet. That's what this is all about. We're not trying to change the world. We're trying to save the world. We'll see you right here Sunday night.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio.